Welcome to the Women Inspire Aspire podcast. In this episode, I talked to Surabhi Yelsangikar about art entrepreneurship. Hi, Surabhi. Thank you so much for accepting my invite to appear in the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me on your podcast as well.
It's my pleasure. Can you go ahead and tell a bit about yourself, your background, etc.?
Sounds good. So, hello to the listeners. I come from northern Karnataka, from Gulbarga, and I moved to Bangalore for my undergrad, and I have been away since then. Post my undergrad, I did the Teach for India Fellowship, which is a 2 years fellowship where teachers are, where young leaders, graduates as well as working professionals are placed in government schools or under resourced schools, which are low fee private schools, in some of the cities. And we were given a training, and I taught in a school, in a government school in Sikandrabad, and I taught fifth and sixth graders, and I had a lot of fun being a teacher and also learning about grassroots reality with respect to education. Post that, I continued to work with Teach for India as a recruiter, and I was recruiting fellows from Karnataka and Kerala. Post my work at Teach for India, I was working at a startup called Udhyam Learning Foundation, where I was their early team, and I worked on several functions to set up and run the organization. Again, had great learning and was exposed to entrepreneurial mindset as a concept there. Post which, I wanted to explore a little more about entrepreneurship. So I was working at NSR Cell, which is the startup incubator at IIM Bangalore. And over there, I was working with Idea Stage Incubation program called Launchpad. I was leading the program from end to end, right from designing to implementation. After working at NSR Cell, I took a break for my master's, and I went to the Harvard Graduate School of Education for my master's in education. And the program I did my master's in is called Education, Leadership, Organization, and Entrepreneurship. Again, had a lot of fun being back in a classroom and learning. And I came back to India earlier this year after my graduation, and I continue to work with NSR Cell on a different project. And I'm also working on my startup on the side. So that's a little bit about me.
That's so wonderful to hear. I'm pretty interested and intrigued by your work related to education, and you're also very involved with entrepreneurship.
That's right.
What what were your experiences at Harvard? Would you like to elaborate a bit about it?
Sure. So at Harvard, I was going for any sort of studies after working for 9 years. So I had to sort of shift my mindset from working to being a student all over again. And I must say that I really enjoyed being back in a classroom as a student. I thoroughly enjoyed the wide variety of pedagogies that I was exposed to, as well as the kind of classes that I took. I feel like it's the kind of exposure that I was looking for from my master's. Along with that, I was also exposed to perspective of people from various different countries, because we had a huge international population as well. So that kind of perspective also helped me learn a lot about what education looks like in different parts of the world and what living in different parts of the world looks like. Also, just being away from home, from family and friends, also I think taught me a lot about what matters to me, helped me explore my own identity a little more, and made me realize what matters to me in life. And at Harvard, I also sort of did a lot of other activities outside of academics. I was a part of the student advisory board for my program. I was also working on the startup that I spoke about earlier. I was also doing a lot of part-time jobs, so it was a very interesting experience. So also to just learn to live outside of your country in a whole new world, also in a span of 1 year, to learn to live there, as well as get get enough focus and equal amounts of focus on your education. I think it was a lot of juggling, something that I also really enjoyed. So that was a small sort of summary of my experience there, but happy to answer any more questions you may have.
Well, that's great to hear. Now let's talk a bit about your NSRCEL experience and what is your role there right now?
So right now I work as a consultant with the data and insights team. I'm working on a framework that NSRCL is building that is aimed to help other startup incubators to set up and run their own incubation program. Along with this, I'm also going to work on capturing stories of founders. So there is a lot of cross learning that can happen from our alumni to current cohorts, because the kind of journeys that founders go, although it's very unique, there is also a lot of learning that can be passed on from one founder to another. So I'm also going to sort of capture these stories that can be passed on to the startup community for learning and for also any sort of collaboration that can emerge from it. So that's what I'm working on right now.
That's wonderful to hear. Now let's talk about your motivation and passion about entrepreneurship. Can you tell us a bit about it?
Sure. So the startup is called Twarita Arts Collective India. My larger sort of holy grail has uh, that has been that has been my sort of vision is livelihoods of people. And at Twarita, we work on improving livelihood of traditional Indian folk artists. As you may know, a lot of traditional Indian art forms are on the decline because not a lot of people are carrying these traditions forward for several reasons. One large reason being the artists don't get paid enough for a sustainable livelihood, as a result of which, a lot of these traditional art forms, which are a way of learning about stories, etc., is diminishing with time. So, my co founder Priyanka and I are on a mission to improve livelihoods of traditional folk artists, while also increasing awareness about these art forms with the general public and increasing curiosity, so a lot more people would want to learn about these art forms. That's what Twarita Arts Collective is doing right now.
Wonderful. So I did a podcast session with Priyanka also where we
That's right.
talked about
Yes,
Yaksha Gaanaa in detail.
that's right. Yes.
Um, so let's talk about your hobbies and interests. What do you do apart from work?
Apart from work, I do a lot of art. Although art also is becoming part of my work now. So, yeah, I do a lot of painting, and I explore different forms of fine art, like linoleum carving, etc. And I also have my Instagram page dedicated to art, where I run a lot of art challenges for my Instagram community. And I thoroughly enjoy doing that. And we are in the middle of an art challenge right now, which is themed on uh, art in year 2024, where basically the prompt says that basically the prompt is for us to reflect on our year 2024, could be the highs as well as the lows or anything of significant, and dedicate one piece of art for each month, so 12 pieces of art. So similarly, I sort of run different thematic art challenges on my Instagram page, and it's wonderful to see people share their art. Also wonderful to learn. It's a great way for me to learn about people as well. And these art challenges also help me, as well as all the other participants, build a form of habit and discipline to spend some time doing art on a daily basis. So that's the larger goal with which I started art challenges, and I've been doing this for a few years now.
Okay. Any other hobbies or interests that you pursue?
I also love exploring cafes. So I try to explore a new cafe or restaurant every other weekend. That's also something that I'm passionate about, food. Outside of this, even with respect to art, I've been sort of volunteering in an under resourced school here in Bangalore in two different locations, and running volunteering activities to paint the school walls, make murals, to make the school a lot more colorful. so children feel more invited and feel like a part of the school, feel more close to the school as well. So that's also something that I've been doing for the last couple of years.
That's great. Now let's talk about the societal issues that you care about. I know
Mhm.
that you are already working on reviving art forms on your entrepreneurship capacity. What other societal issues that bother you or you want to do something about if you got a chance?
Mhm. Thank you for that question. So, like I mentioned, Venkat, my holy grail has been livelihoods. I believe with better livelihood, people get access to better quality of life, also better access to education, which also improves their sort of future trajectory. Along with this, education also has been close to my heart. Education, equity in education is also something that I really stand by. Outside of this, I firmly believe in women's rights and women's livelihoods as well. So these are few causes that are close to my heart.
Okay. Along those lines, do you have any advice or tips for the listeners on the societal issues that you talked about?
I think just doing as much as we can um, to sort of, I'm not going to say give back, but do something about these problems in any capacity that we can. Be it your time, be it sponsoring, be it going on ground and doing some work yourself. I also believe that over time, the impact sector and the way non-profits or for-profits for impact organizations work has evolved. So it'll be nice if the listeners could try and engage a little bit more to understand what is happening on the ground right now. And with respect to founders who are on a journey of starting up, my advice would be something that I learned from some professors in IIM Bangalore that I had the privilege to work with, as well as some of my professors at Harvard, is to fall in love with the problem and not the solution. I think that's something that has stood by me for the last few years. Before assuming what problems people are going through and creating a solution for it based on assumptions, it's always great to actually have interactions with people to understand what is it that they're going through and then create a solution accordingly and not what we think is right. So I think for founders, that would be my suggestion to go on ground and fall in love with the problem.
That's great advice. I have a question related to that. I have
Yes.
found that there are a wide variety of audience who have a different, set of issues.
Mm-hmm.
So it is really tough to narrow down into a specific problem and address that problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you take the logistics and supply chain industry, there is a
Yeah.
whole lot of problems starting from the transportation to the warehousing to the different aspects of it. Now,
Yeah.
I could focus anywhere in this whole scenario and address the problem. But you
Mm-hmm.
said focus on the problem, but my problem is I don't know where to focus. So you might find similar scenarios in other sectors and industries also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is your recommendation in terms of where I should focus? Is it the return of investment that I should look at when I try to focus on a problem, or is it something that I'm very passionate about, or is it the technological enablement that I would like to focus on? What do you think is the right approach?
Like you rightly pointed out when you started out this question, Venkat, I think it depends on what nudged the founder to start something. And when I said fall in love with the problem, not the solution, what I meant was if you know what the problem is, if you really want to solve that problem, your solution can be iterative. And like you mentioned, it might be really difficult to understand what the problem is in the first place, right? In such situations, what I would recommend is to get started, and not wait for the perfect moment or for the perfect spark or for the perfect problem statement, but start talking, start going on ground. That is when you understand in a little more in depth on what is it that, say, your in your area of interest people are going through. For example, if I have an agri tech or like an agriculture based solution, if I'm sitting way too far away from the field and saying farmers need this, it could be heavily based on your assumption. Whereas if you actually go to the agricultural field, do some sort of farming yourself, have interactions with the farmer, understand the ecosystem, your perspective as well as your view of the problem itself might change, and you may be able to narrow down on one thing that you want to solve, because one person cannot obviously solve everything. I think just this exercise of falling in love with the problem and being on ground sort of helps you understand the reality a little more differently, perhaps, or even more deeply. So that's what I meant.
Okay, great. Now, you might have seen so many startups in your experience working in NSRCEL, as well as you might
Mhm.
have seen startups in Harvard also.
Yeah.
Now, what is your gut feeling on where entrepreneurship is going in India?
That's a difficult question to answer because things are growing, things are constantly moving. And in terms of entrepreneurship, I do believe that the ecosystem itself has grown a lot. There are a lot of support systems available in the form of startup incubators, startup accelerators, VC firms that are giving away funds. And also, like in a lot of academic institutions, I believe one shift that I've been seeing in terms of entrepreneurship is that a lot of students also are being encouraged to try the path of entrepreneurship, become a job creator and not a job seeker. And I think that becomes very very important with time, because we boast of the country having the biggest sort of working population. However, the reality is that there are so many skilled people. There are there are also people who do not have uh, who have not had the privilege of education, completing their education, and jobs are difficult for them as well. Very very difficult for them as well. So we need a lot more job creators in today's world, and I believe that a lot of these support systems that are coming into picture have been growing, and also a lot of educational institutions also are coming up with incubators now and are encouraging students to explore this path. And I really think that is definitely need of the hour in terms of creating jobs, and I'm glad that some work is happening in that area. Also, definitely will not discount the fact that in a lot of tier 2 tier 3 cities, although people are extremely entrepreneurial, very few sort of organizations work with tier 2 tier 3 cities in terms of building the entrepreneurship ecosystem. However, we've been seeing some work happening in rural entrepreneurship as well, and my only hope is that it keeps growing as rapidly as it does in larger cities.
Yeah, I was talking to someone from DFIX, and
Mhm.
we had a podcast also. So let's hope
Okay.
that that happens. Great. So thanks a lot for all your thoughts. Do you have any questions for me?
I've been following your podcast series, and I'm very curious to understand what led you to start this podcast.
Yeah, so I started as an author. I wrote a book. I wanted to share about my short stories and also have people interview me about short stories. One such interview happened, and then I figured that it's better to have people to come and talk about themselves in the podcast rather than me talking about the books and the stories always. So that happened, and then I interviewed an author and it went well, and then another friend of mine came up with a list of around 25 people who can do the podcast with me, and those podcasts happened. And then eventually I looked at the LinkedIn profiles, and I have a huge followers in LinkedIn. So I looked at that, and I got some very nice contacts, and that's how it has been going. It's going well, and my intention is to have people come and express themselves in the podcast. That's my only objective. So it
Mhm.
has been going well. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much for doing this and for inviting me. I had a lot of fun sharing my thoughts with you.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.
That was a great podcast with Surabhi Yelsangikar. Please subscribe to this channel and follow it for more awesome podcasts. Opinions expressed by the guests in this podcast are their own. The host or the sponsors of the podcast do not condone the opinions expressed by the guests or the actions arising out of those opinions. Any decisions or actions that the listeners might take as a result of listening to this podcast must be based on their own judgment and will be at their own risk. The podcast host or their sponsors will not be held responsible for the consequences of any actions and or decisions taken as a result of any content in this podcast.